we have made some adjustment to the program. We are supposed to have the roundtable discussion after the TPIC, but some of the key people in that roundtable were not available today, and so we agreed that we move it to tomorrow morning. And as a result of that, now the next session we are going to have some presentation, which we have moved forward. It was to be there tomorrow morning, but we are moving it forward to this hour. And there's a presentation on artificial intelligence in higher education quality assurance and management. And the presentation will be by Professor Maurice, of course. And I think he was introduced to you earlier. He's the Vice President of the UCAN Board. And he's a long-standing member and one of the founding members of UCAN. And he's among the very first trainees. I think he trained in the second of that cohort 3. Professor Nziu, they were trained in cohort 1 in 2006. Professor Maurice was trained in cohort 3. And he has served, he has vast experience in the quality assurance field. As a practitioner, he has served as a director of quality assurance at the University of Eldoret. And he has served in various management positions, including having served as the Vice Chancellor at Kenya Methodist University. So, as he speaks about the use of AI in quality assurance, he's somebody who has gone through the fire element up to the top. And so, as he gives his presentation, he can be able to share it from that past idea, because he has moved from the bottom to the top, and then from up there, he can be able now to see many things and how they fall into place. Professor Coles is also a professor of chemistry at the University of Eldoret. So, Professor Coles, welcome. Thank you. I hope I've done justice to your bio, but once I give you the mic, you can add.
Asante, thank you. Most people have made me, but through the articles that I write, likely in higher education. So there's nothing to add. I just want to declare that I'm ready, I'm not AI. But sometimes I try to find out, am I ready? You know, challenges me. Because this AI thing is really taking us up and down. But all said and done, I really appreciate in this forum today. I want to declare also that I am not a specialist in AI. No, I'm not. So if you're expecting me to code for you to do what, for you, if you put me in all these perspectives, then that one will go well. So I'm not an AI specialist. And then the AIs are so many, you even break your head. You just choose what you want and you move on. Don't struggle to know everything. You will die. Yes, because it's just something that will not find anything. So what I want to say is that I'm currently based at University of Eldoret, and there, as you've been told, I lecture in chemistry, physical chemistry in particular, and we are doing well. And greetings. I don't know what's University of Eldoret before. Then ulikuja kitambo sana. Unfortunately, the screen is not very clear without showing me picture of University of Eldoret. I complain that this particular one is hazy. It's not sharp. That one is sharp. And I also requested an adjust, but you see, if you adjust now, you can intervene. But I also ask them to move all those who are in that row to come actually to this side because there's a screen, but not now. Maybe when time comes. So this is the University of Edinburgh. I don't know when you were there last. This is University of Edinburgh. I did it from morning to evening. Kwani kuna mtu anapiga hivi, mimi ndio najua madini. Yeah, anyway, this is an AI image of the University of Edinburgh. The comrades, the students, were doing this on Facebook. And our admission through the university transfers moved from 3,000 to 6,000. So as we speak, we are expecting 6,000 students. Because our capacity may not be able to, just because of that. So you can see what we can do. So colleagues, we are already in that future of AI. And for that reason, probably I will really just start by also declaring that some of these pictures have been generated using AI. But in short, I'll try to explain the role of AI in higher education and also higher education quality assurance, also demonstrate not really practically, but just show you samples, what can be done, and also examine ethical, legal, governance, and so on and so forth, and also propose some strategies that can be used for AI adoption in universities. So the focus is not technical here. The focus is basically to be able to kind of sensitize us in the case of AI, because we are all at different levels. And because of that, let me start by having a small introduction. And I want to say that the fourth industrial revolution and the digital transformation in higher education is already with us. And the emergence of AI as a strategic tool for universities is doing wonders. I want to ask again, like somebody asked, how many use AI? Kila mtu, except one. You know, if you don't use AI, it's like having a button phone in the era of smartphone. How many people they use AI? Okay, a few. There are a few. So unatumia na kutaki watu wajifunze. Unajificha. Tunawaambia the gospel today is that usijifiche, it is the in thing. In fact, come 2 years from now, in your universities, there will be a director of AI. Just like there is a director of quality assurance, there will be a director of AI. Believe me, because if you look at the governance framework, then you will realize that that is where we are heading. After quality assurance just started like this, people were like, what is this quality assurance? Then they went to Germany, they were like, what have we come here to do? And things like that. But now we have directors, quality assurance. Next are directors of AI. You can quote me, COP 2026. AI is an enabler of quality enhancement rather than a mere information technology. That much we agree. And the evolving role of quality assurance in universities management in the era of AI is something that is inevitable. Now, one thing you can remember is that there's a lot of increasing regulatory pressure. For example, you find that there are programs that are increasing in numbers, students are increasing in numbers, manual and repetitive processes, QA processes are there. fragmented institutional data. In fact, if you ask you how many students do you have, it depends on who is asked. They will have all sorts of answers. And therefore, many universities still compile accreditation reports manually. And we are saying with AI, this can improve in efficiency that is associated with compiling manually is something that is really eating us up. And you spend weeks, when you hear queue is coming, you spend weeks, actually even months, trying to put things in place because we are still manual like. But AI can actually help us. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us just do a background check and see what we understand with the term about the term AI. Some people may think it is artificial insemination. Because that is what we knew when we were growing up. AI. So by that, if he was alive today, he would say, tafuta daktari wanaume, or something like that. So AI basically is a computer system that makes one appear brighter than they are actually. So all of us, intelligence yetu skile tuko nayo last year. In fact, our intelligence is increasing by the day. When you do something today, you look brighter than you were previously. And how we call it in Kiswahili? AI. AI in Kiswahili. Kwani kwa sipo Kenya. Inaitwa akili bandia. Inaitwa akili bandia. Ama werevushi. That is AI. So when you're using AI, you actually making us want to feel like you are clever, yet you are not. But it makes us clever because we can be able to move faster, we can be able to do this and that. So always know it's called akili bandia. Ama werevushi. That is the name, or that is what we call it in Kiswahili. I'm sure you know all these stuff. Kuna mtu alipia kitabu hii, I just want to go repeat it. Machine learning. You know, machines can also learn just like you. They can look at the patterns and be able to learn, and be able to give you feedback accordingly. There is something they call deep learning. Deep learning is actually a form of machine learning that actually goes deep and looks at the databases, and it acts like a human brain, picking things from here and there and process. So that is why it is possible for AI to read a paper in seconds and give you a summary. Then there is the NLP. NLP is basically the natural language processing, and it enables computers to understand, interpret, analyze, and generate human language. For example, when you talk about chatbots that are able to answer questions, student questions, NLP. Computer vision. Computers can also be able to vision, and also be able to see. They will see an image and give you a prompt for the same. Sometimes you look at an image and you say, wow, this was really well done. But you don't know how to generate it. The computer will be able to see it and then generate the prompt for you. It's called computer vision. Predictive analytics, that one should be able to know, because predictive analytics usually combines AI, statistical modeling to forecast the future outcomes based on historical data. Then there is generative AI, that is the one that we use most. ChatGPT and so on and so forth. Generative AI. And also there's intelligent automation, which actually combines AI with workflows, automation to perform routine, repetitive, and data-intensive tasks with minimum human intervention. So those are some of the terms that you will come across in AI. And evolution of AI in higher education has been seen in digitalization. It has been seen in LMSs more than face-to-face, in learning analytics, where you want to understand what actually is happening in terms of data, adaptive learning that is customized according to the pace of the person, and also generative AI. With permission, I actually did borrow a picture. I talked to one of us to send me her picture, and she refused. So what I did, nilienda tu kwa website ama nilienda tu kwa internet nikachukua kwani iko nini? AI can be able to do some things. I don't know whether you recognize this one. Akiangalia kwa ofisi yake. Now, I decided in just a few seconds, 30 seconds, I was able to convert into that.
Look at that.
Which one do you like? The earlier one or this one?
This
one. Now this one looks like it's the same office, the same picture. I'm sure that you my pictures are bad. Something that was next to impossible those days, just like that. So you have to be what we call a prompt engineer. An engineer will be able to generate a prompt. You know, it is garbage in, garbage out. So if you don't become a prompt engineer, then you are not yet a very good AI person. Now, AI in higher education, the current landscape is very complicated. The African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework is there. I don't know the Pan-African, the ASG is also there. The local standards are also there. You know, the ASG are the African standards, and your brain actually helped us to develop this. Then there are also the accreditation agencies like Q, and now we even have dual accreditation where you can actually be able to be accredited locally and also regionally, and so on and so forth. All these things put together are very complicated because how do you put ASG, you put our local standards and guidelines, you incorporate everything into your work. So AI can actually be able to help us. And there are several things that are actually driving AI adoption in high education learning or higher education institutions. One is massification of higher education. You find that almost in every institution, the number of students are actually growing. And this number of students growing up has actually complicated things for us. You find that AI can actually be able to coordinate for us this massification. Universities are serving significantly larger numbers, and that can also be harnessed by taking care of them using AI. For example, instead of students walking into office to come and get some answers to some questions, on the internet, you can have a chatbot chatting to them and giving them very, very accurate answers. We also have cases where students can be taught using some chatbots. It is your picture, your face, just like your same sister there. And she will be speaking and teaching online. And yet you are somewhere sleeping. It happens. And therefore, massification of education is one thing that has been pushing AI adoption. Demand for quality education. Sisi tunachoka AI HO, it works 24/7. And for that reason, we find that students, employers, government, and others expect high quality relevant education. And because you get that, you find that when you are on the floor for far too long, you actually become less productive. But AI will not get tired, and therefore they will continue working. And the beauty about them, they can actually be able to tailor-make learning materials according to individuals' abilities and progress. So the slow learners, they can be able to handle them, unlike you, who will not be able to have the patience to do that. Increasing administrative complexity of universities. Universities are getting very, very complex. Modern universities usually have got vast amounts of academic, financial, human, and operational data. And to harness this data to become meaningful, then AI can actually be used. You can imagine a situation whereby AI is automating admissions, processing students, as well as timetabling generation or timetable generation, examination scheduling, and even marking exams. So things are happening in every front. Also, data-driven decision-making is another one. Hybrid and online learning, global competition, and university rankings are also going or pushing us towards adopting AI. Let us look at the university value chain and how AI is therein. Artificial intelligence is creating value across the entire university ecosystem. How are they doing that? They are doing that by improving efficiency, by enhancing quality, by supporting evidence-based decision making. And we can go bit by bit. Let's start by looking at the academic matters or academic affairs. Talk of the curriculum. You will realize that in the academic affairs, AI supports planning, delivery, continuous improvement of academic programs. It has never been easier to have curriculum developed now. You can actually just get curriculum draft just like that. Yes. Unlike those days where you had the initial draft, so now you can be able to get it in just maybe a minute or so. You can get a draft because it will be picking from all the curriculum that knows that bears that title or those keywords and be able to put them down for you in a hybrid form, and which will be very, very easy to work on, and therefore you can take a shot at them. Program review has never been any easier because it analyzes student data feedback and be able to look at the graduate outcomes, labor market trends, and so on and so forth. Course design is another thing. Expected learning outcomes were really a challenge during our days when we were trying to do them. But now you can generate them just like. So we have moved, and this thing is actually doing very well for us. You talk of timetabling, we find that it optimizes class schedules and also staff allocation. And over and above that, the student progression analysis can actually be obtained without much stress, especially online programs. That is about academic affairs. How about teaching? Now personalized learning is possible, where everybody can do things in their own time. Intelligent tutoring system is also there. It's very much there, and you will find it in many institutions. For example, you'll find you'll provide instant explanations and practice exercises to students simply because of that ITS. Then AI assisted lesson preparation. all of us use AI assisted lesson. In fact, if AI collapses today, all of us will be left exposed. Truth be told, because you set questions using the AI, you set the markings using the AI. Okay, you go through it to make sure that things are okay, but the fact remains that AI collapsing today, some of us will just die. Because in the intelligence in the border, the tricks, I'm told the snakes used to have legs, but because it kept on dancing, so it lost the legs. And that's why it grows. You know, the development of an organ is proportional to its use. That's why you see these guys who go to the gym. But I don't know why the lawyers have suspended. That one I don't know whether they walk about or not. It will go in another language. So colleagues, AI assisted lesson preparation is there with us. Learning analytics is there, like LSS, and student engagement monitoring. How are our students engaging? The system can actually be able to tell us that this student is at risk because he has not been attending classes and so on. Assessment, I've mentioned that question generation, AI, automated feedback, AI, marking scheme development, AI. Even if you want multiple questions, you'll get them using AI and so on and so forth. etc. So AI is almost everywhere. Now, when you come to research and innovation, that is now the heart of it. I've seen even in my institution at University of Edinburgh, the rate at which students now are graduating is higher than before. Because thesis inatengenezwa haraka sana. Yes. And you know, they get it and into another software which picks out all the AI things. And before you know it, you have less than 20%. You can see this guy is not the one who can generate this, but he has done it. And he's able to defend it. Even PPTs are prepared using AI. All they go and do is to spice it up. No, they don't go to the cyber anymore. We used to go to the cyber. And we will chase them from our university because they will come and put their stickers on the notice board or their adverts. You want your thesis done in 24 hours? Contact this number. So we used to chase them and tell those things. But now, AI, they have it in their phones and so on and so on. Things have changed. So research, like me, for my students, I actually ask them, have you contacted our personal assistant? We don't want to say AI, stop it now. I don't touch what I'm doing to me. Have you contacted our personal assistant? Meaning, have you actually gone through the AI to see what the AI has to say or has? So that analysis happening. Program, meaning they can be able to give you that analysis, grant, proposal, development. I think those who are saying they have never. I really struggle to get into the international platform of grant writing. I struggled for many years. Okay, my breakthrough came way back in 2017. And that time I didn't even know AI, but it came through a small grant from Belgium. But now they can entrust me with a even as I speak, I'm running a grant of 700,000 euros. Now, when you are running a grant, karibu kuota ya hiyo pesa haitafanya hiyo kazi, itafanya kazi nyingine ya personal. Majengo kareno ba. That is the beauty about grants. Acha niwafunze mbora ingine bro. It's really bad. yetu watadebit. You write a grant, you submit. Una change kidogo, una submit kwa ingine. Hizo pesa zote zinakuja. Then unafanya kazi, results zinatoka, unapatia hao, unapatia hao. Unajua umetumia grant moja. So you are like 70 million to yourself. But I'm just joking with this. Joking. So it's in research and innovation, research trends analysis, collaboration, discovery, you can actually be able to use AI to actually know who is doing the kind of work that you're doing so that you can be able to promote collaboration. So there are many things. Student support systems, AI chatbots, academic advising, career guidance, mental health support, early warning systems, where there you have got a student who has perpetually been failing. You can be able to intercept that student and say, we have seen from the system, you're not doing very well. What is the problem? But the current one, face to face, is a very big challenge. But if the marks is failing to the system, then you can be able to see this particular student is suffering, and therefore you can be able to intervene. Administration, admissions, finance, human resource management, procurement, asset management, customer service, all these are now using AI. And that's why I was telling you, there is no need of struggling with busting your head with many. When you want to do something, just look for that AI and use it. Forget about it. You don't have to keep the name. Because if you keep a list of them, you have over 1,000. So utapata kwamba watu wa watu wa procurement wako na yao, finance wako na yao, human resource wako na yao, and so on and so forth. All these become very complex for us. For example, in education, you can be able to screen admissions that are submitted only and be able to know whether this person is qualified or not. AI can be able to read a picture. You don't have to have it in PDF. It can even read a JPEG, a photo, and say, this one is Madam Munanga. Yes. 60% or 90% Madam Munanga, and so on and so forth. Also, finance supports budgeting, forecasting, fraud detection, AI. You heard that in Slovenia, where they had an AI minister. Yes. So all these things are happening. Necessity to be back in human. Also, human resource management. It can help in recruitment, in workforce planning, as well as development of the human capacity. Also, procurement. It can automate purchasing and so on and so forth. In customer service, can improve responsiveness to stakeholder inquiries and so on and so forth. So AI is used almost everywhere. AI in higher education, in terms of quality assurance, I can be able to say that AI is transforming quality assurance from largely compliance-based activity into a more proactive data-driven and continuous quality enhancement process. It actually enables institutions and regulators to analyze evidence, to identify risks, and even to make timely decisions to improve educational outcomes. And let us look at the internal quality assurance. Program monitoring. In terms of academic quality. Program monitoring. Program monitoring, we find that AI can analyze enrollment trends, completion rates, student performance, feedback, curriculum mapping is used to sound very difficult for those people who never did with education, but now you can actually be able to map your curriculum. You can actually be able to align the course contents, learning outcomes, and the graduate competencies. Learning outcome assessment, also you can be able to do that. Teaching evaluations, you can be able to identify patterns from students' evaluations to support teaching improvement. So is the student satisfaction analysis. You know, most of the times we do surveys, but we don't even do the analysis. Now it becomes useless. For example, when you do students' course evaluation or lecture evaluation, do you actually do the analysis and give feedback to the staff that this is what the students are saying about it? Because if you don't do that, then it's not complete. We must always, in KU some time back, they used to give report forms to every lecturer. And it will count during promotion. Ulipata D. Kwa nini ulipata D? No, it used to be C. C ndio ilikuwa ya kulia. C ilikuwa ni kudunda. Kwa nini ulipata C? Yeah, we are not promoting him. Technically, scoring A, prof, direct, and so on and so forth, accelerated. So colleagues, internal quality assurance also in terms of institutional performance, KPIs monitoring. Quality assurance directors are supposed to monitor KPIs. Do you monitor KPIs as a quality assurance officer? Strategic plan tracking. You saw in that picture that sister was in her new office. There was a strategic plan at the time. How long ago did you interact with your strategic plan as a registrar, as a quality assurance director? It must be somewhere in the table throughout. Risk management. How can you be able to take care of situations before they actually happen? And resource utilization and graduate employability are some institutional performances that AI can actually support. Continuous quality improvement, predictive quality analytics, automated reporting, benchmarking. Benchmarking is no longer, let's make a request to the VC. I know we used to have, let's make a request to the VC. Pesa, universities are not pesa anymore and further your class. You can actually benchmark on them. And you get even better results and traveling, you get tired. I know you're looking at your body and so on and so forth. With permission, I do some work with the Northfield University. And I had an opportunity to also look at their quality assurance dashboard. And this is how it looks like. Do you have a dashboard? I'm on a two dashboard here. But maybe you think the dashboard really again together. You must have a dashboard quality assurance specialist. Here is very small and you cannot be able to see. I'm also struggling to see here. But you can see program meeting standards at 92%, academic programs that are actually under QA monitoring are 48, course assessed, they are 312, and so on and so forth. So you have a dashboard that can actually give you a lot. Post-assessment results, these graphs there is showing you the course assessment results and so on and so forth. So you have a dashboard. AI can actually help you in this respect. Don't ask me which AI. Enter the footer, talk to your ICT group or director. They'll be able to support you. Coming to the external quality assurance, that is targeting zero TRT, is that we need to move into AI support for accreditation preparation. I remember I was chairing the institutional quality as a former vice chancellor of multimedia. Then, of course, we were working, and then everybody was always I was always the first one to submit. So our Elizabeth, hata hukuona hii inasema Kisii University na wewe na ujaona inaniambia hii report, unajua the way we do reports, we just use it as a template. So as a human, it's not possible to see everything. So you just put it, if you go to ChatGPT, there's that last sign, you put the report there and say, tell me about things that are not real in this. In minutes, I've got it. And then it's like, really, my history. And then they ask him, how did you manage to see this? It's so hidden. They say it didn't declare to happen. I'm very clever. So what we are saying is that we must also use accreditation preparations using AI, things, institutional audits, compliance, monitoring, self-assessment reporting, evidence verification, and so on and so forth. External quality assurance. The benefits are many. For example, faster document analysis when you use AI. Also, it reduces administrative burden. Kila mtu ana shughuli za kufanya. And sitting from day to evening can also be able to bring you down. Vitu kama memo. Now you can write a memo with the mood that you want. Write a hash memo to students, warning them of exam irregularities. It will write for you a hash memo. Yeah. But remember to go through it, otherwise it can be too harsh and it can be counterproductive. Better evidence management. You can be able to manage evidence better with AI, also risk-based quality assurance. Continuous quality assurance improvement, predictive quality analytics, automated reporting, benchmarking, and institutional dashboards. That one we have seen. How about management? There are so many things we can be able to say about management. The fact remains that AI is actually reshaping universities' management. The DVCs, the VCs should not do things manually anymore. They must engage AI to do some tasks for them. This will improve on their efficiency because as a VC, I used to spend most of my time in meetings. And of course, the only thing you gain from meetings is increase in wage. Yes. Because you eat and you sit there. So when I come back to the office, files are like that. Some of them, if I knew, I could have used AI to actually deal with them. But that time, probably this was not possible because hii mambo ya AI imekuja baada ya COVID na COVID ilitupata huko. AI allows university leaders to move from reactive management approaches to predictive and proactive institutional governance. Strategic planning. By the way, it is possible to generate strategic plan in minutes. So yeah, I've done it for several schools in minutes. Then you have to go through it and customize. Rather than a situation whereby you're looking for the goals, needing all those, it has got so many strategic plans to read from. And it gives you something. So you can be able to forecast enrollment, you can be able to scenario plan, you can also be able to resource allocate. If you develop a strategic plan and then you give it a figure that you want to correctly, it will apportion. It will apportion those amounts into various activities, making your work very, very easy. Now, yours is just to verify. So we are saying that we can be able to do so many things with AI. Decisions and cost systems, dashboards, nimeongea tu kila wakati, executive reporting, predictive modeling, and so on and so forth, intelligence, institutional intelligence, knowing where things could go wrong. Also financial management, budgeting, budget forecasting, revenue prediction, cost optimization, as well as fraud detection. All these are AI things. Human resources, workforce planning, recruitment, support, staff, performance analytics, professional development, planning, and also. And I try to look at what the Northfield University has. The administrative dashboard looks like this. As an administrator, I know you have here, but that's not, you have the ERP dashboard, but you have an administrative dashboard that can actually be able to give you so many things at one glance. Even the ERP is still useful because during my time, I found came when it did not have an ERP system. Is there any university without an ERP system? That one, if there was one, then we could chase you away. Because at least this can't allow that. So before a student comes to my office, I should be able to get the details of that student. That's the admission number. I see everything about the student, the disciplinary case, I'm working on a fees issues. So already in my mind, I know the kind of person I'm dealing with. And it makes my work so easy. Because I know the kind of person that I'm dealing with. So it is important to have dashboards always, because you can be able to see everything at a glance. I'm almost there. There is another thing of AI and the university country. AI is becoming a very valuable tool, improving the performance indicators used by major global and regional ranking systems. I know most of you will dismiss ranking, but you only dismiss it when you are not doing very well. When you are at the top, you want to share with everybody. Then that is what happens. Even me, when University of Eldoret is not doing very well according to the ranking, I don't even share. But you wait until you find ourselves in top 10. Share everywhere, and you know my network is one there. Until I annoy other people. Then others will be like, ranking was based on what? And uliza, uliulizwa maswali wewe walikuja kwa institution, you know those kind of things. And it's normal. When things are working for you, you are okay. But when they are not working for you, you start questioning. You remember when you were students? You used to stone people's cars without even questioning during strikes. But nowadays, you wonder what's wrong with these students? They stoning my So that is nature. So colleagues, AI for performance improvement, it can help you improve on your visibility, research visibility. AI. Citation analysis, it can help you at international collaborations, reputation management, web visibility, as well as graduate employability tracking. All these are very good for your ranking. Ethical and governance considerations is that as universities increase to adopt AI, they must ensure that its use is ethical. They must ensure that its use is transparent and also aligned with academic values. Effective AI governance builds trust while safeguarding educational quality and institutional integrity. So some of the ethical issues that you will come across, academic integrity. Sasa tunaongea mambo ya similarity. Naongea mambo ya AI resemblance. And does the institution have a policy on AI? What percentage of AI is allowable? AI similarity is allowable. Is it 10, 20, 50, 100? sawa, looks like hata hamna hiyo. So in one of the articles I wrote, I suggested that anything above 30%, that one must be sent back to the owner. 20 is reasonable. 10 is good. 10% is good. Remember, AI is also, it gets sick. You know, like there are potholes in the air, aeroplanes, in a year for potholes. I don't know how many, I know most of you are not from. Huko juu iko potholes. Ile ikiingia unasikia kama your knee has slipped a bit, your heart. Equally, you find that AI also iko na challenges zake. AI here can be corrupted. AI hallucinates, AI can be corrupted. How do we corrupt AI? When the data is biased, and because it reads from the data, this is particularly for sales. You are looking for a product. You find that this is the best product. Behind the scenes, there are people who are feeding the AI with data that this product is good. It's already corrupted. It's called AI poisoning. So not everything in AI is for your attention. We saw the picture of sister in our office. Next time I can decide to put a picture where I'm happy. Yes, it is possible. Just put my photo and her photo, and then we are happy. And so on and so forth. So don't believe everything that you see. Mambo ya AI, believe. I saw a letter in the Facebook where she was sister directly somebody or something. I think the students are just crazy. They are doing crazy things because they are trying to. So basically, AI assisted intelligence is also an ethical issue where plagiarism is being corrupted so that you are not able to see it. Hallucination, where it speaks information inajipatia information zake that you don't even know, that don't even exist. Like thesis, it can be able to generate its own references that will never exist. That is hallucination. Algorithm bias is what I've talked about, poisoning, then equity and inclusion. Muda mtu ambaye hawezi access computer maybe because mkono imefanya namna gani. How do you include this person? Intellectual property as well as responsible use of it. These are some of the ethical issues. Now, the legal issues are data protection, copyright, privacy, and regulatory compliance. Now comes the issue of governance. This is where I still believe that AI is going to be bigger than what it is now. There will be a director quality assurance AI in your institution in a few years. So here, we talk about institutional policies. We talk about AI governance frameworks. And AI governance frameworks is a serious thing. Just like your quality assurance framework, you can also have AI governance framework. Human oversight is very, very important because everything you do in the AI does not take responsibility. It is you to take responsibility. So you must be having that oversight. So never let a memo without going through it and you just post it. You will find yourself in trouble. Accountability, transparency is something. Again, University will not fail as an AI governance framework. And if you look at that AI governance framework, we have the pillars. Pillar number 1 is human-centered. Pillar number 2 is fair and inclusive. Number 3, transparent. Number 5, accountable. Another one is secure and safe, among others. Then you come to the structure itself. The structure, you have a board oversight. Then you have an AI governance committee. Do you have those words? Board oversight, governance committee. Then you have AI governance office. Do you have an office for AI? Sudan, Bada. You need to have an office for AI, somebody in charge. That will be like the director, AI. Also, you have the stewards network or the champions, AI champions in every school. And then you go to the lecturers themselves. Then there is the life cycle governance, which is captured here again, you might not be able to see, and also the risk management component. So it is something that is very comprehensive. The way we look at it today is different from the direction it's going to take in the future. And who is likely to be the director here? Somebody who is good with that. Somebody who is good, you don't have to be a computer specialist, but you must have interest. Because even us, we are quality directors. But of course, some of us, whatever they offer is not even quality. Yes, that's the truth. You teach for half an hour, you disappear. And you're the quality assurance director. And those kind of things. So last but not least, as I end, risks and challenges are plenty. We find that institutional challenges are there. Digital infrastructure is something that we have as a challenge. There are still universities where internet is still a challenge. Cost of AI implementation can be very high. Universities, some universities have actually subscribed to the paid-up version of ChatGPT, for example. And students are using it. But you see that paid-up version is not cheap. It's very expensive. Forget about the one that you're using. This one, that one hallucinates a lot. The free version, that one hallucinates a lot. But if you want quality, you will actually subscribe. But if you realize you are going to subscribe to so many of them, then it becomes a challenge. During the practical session, probably I can share with you some of the websites you can be able to get the free versions of some of these. Maybe don't take the expertise, but not to go to do ya mambo ya AI. Hata watu bado wana access. Staff are still resisting. And from here, we want to say that don't resist. There are policy gaps. There are people without policies and we don't have. The government has done something, but as institutions, you cannot have. Maybe open university, even the economic it's in their mandate. Education challenges, over-reliance on AI. As I said, if you switch it off today, there are people who will stop working. We say, what are the Reduce critical thinking is another thing that we are seeing as a challenge. Authentic assessment difficulties, also unequal access to AI technologies. There are those who only know ChatGPT, but they don't know it for one reason or the other. Also, quality assurance challenges, verifying authentic student work, updating quality assurance standards, evaluating AI-supported teaching, and monitoring AI use. These are challenges you as quality assurance people will have challenges in. I'm almost there. Opportunities or enhancement are so many. You can be able to have teaching excellence. You can be able to have research excellence. You can be able to have institutional effectiveness through AI. You can also be able to have continuous improvement done very well. And how do we set up an AI-ready university? An AI-ready university is not defined only by the availability of technology. No. It is actually the ability to integrate AI strategically, ethically, and sustainably into teaching, research, governance, as well as operations. Therefore, building an AI-ready university requires coordinated investment in policies, in people, in infrastructure, also in partnership. So the priorities you should have, start with the policy development. That will be the starting point. Start with the policy development, have an AI strategy, have somebody responsible for that particular activity, because currently everybody is responsible for AI. Somehow, kama librarian kidogo kinajaribu control, lakini akienda sana na mwingine, who told you to? Because recently they rejected a student's thesis because it was 25%. So we were up in arms. Who told you controlling the AI similarity index? Where is the policy? Academic integrity framework is another thing. Capacity building, we need to build capacity of staff so that they are AI literate. That will reduce resistance. And also student digital literacy as well as leadership and development. And also infrastructure, digital ecosystems. You must also secure an AI platform. Data governance and cybersecurity is a very strong thing to deal with. This is just a keyword data ecosystem, governance ecosystem, where you're bringing in the students, the regulatory bodies, the QA units, as well as the institution itself. Partnership is another thing that we can be able to do. There are several, like the Microsoft. Yes, the Microsoft are actually partnering with the institutions to be able to build the capacity of those institutions. There are some emerging trends that we cannot ignore. AI-powered accreditation, intelligent quality assurance systems, autonomous institutional reporting, digital twin for universities, and predictive institutional management, AI-enabled student success ecosystems, multimodal learning analytics, as well as AI agents for academic and administrative support. My recommendations there, as I finish, is that we should develop institutional-wide strategies aligned with QA goals. We should embed AI literacy in staff development and curriculum. Maseno University came up with one time everything with computing. You remember? Yes, everything with computing. But sometimes you are not judging. But sometimes you look at those programs, you look for the computing component, but it's sold like nobody's business. Now, such viewers will sell chemistry with AI, will sell okay, yeah? Business with AI, and so on. Adapt AI to enhance, not to replace human judgment in academic and administrative decisions. Also review assessment practices to maintain academic integrity in an AI-enabled environment. For example, assessment cannot be the same anymore. You must use projects, you must use models for them to actually qualify themselves. Establish governance structures for ethical, transparent, and accountable use. And ladies and gentlemen, that is for quality assurance agencies in Milwaukee. Probably you have better quality standards and accreditation frameworks to reflect AI-enabled teaching, learning, assessment, etc. Don't come to the institution when you are doing audit, then it's like, hii tena imetoka wapi? Kwa nini mnafanya hivi? Nani aliwaambia kutumia those kind of things? Encourage innovation by safeguarding academic standards and public trust. For governments, of course, they must invest in the digital infrastructure. And I think Kenya, we have done very well so far. We can develop national guidelines, which has already been decided, and also we can promote collaboration among universities and regulators, as well as I thank you so much. So many things say, already, but it brings us to the same level as far as that is concerned. Because here we have the news, the office. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Morris, for that presentation. Like I said, having been a visit, you can see the vast perspective from his presentation. He's able to see both sides from top, bottom, and from bottom up. Yeah, so I'm happy that in our program, if you look at the program that we shared earlier, his presentation was to come the second after the other presentation on AI in teaching research. But I think it's good that there was that change and we have started with him because he has given a broad overview of AI in education. So that when you go to the next presentation on AI in specific areas, now we are going to be able to see how that fits into position. So, Prof, thank you very much for your presentation. And yeah. And I will not summarize what Prof has presented because it's quite wide, it's quite deep, and it's not easy to summarize. But there are achievements that maybe some highlights that are it. What is the prophecy? This prophecy is that in the near future, we are going to have AI in universities. And based on what he has presented, especially the examples that is given from Oxford University, you can see for them to reach that level, there must be somebody who is dealing with that docket. So I believe that that prophecy will come true. That I will baptize you now, Prophet Okoren. Okay, so that is one thing that has come up, and I think it should make us start thinking, even as we come back to our institutions, how do we plan to domesticate AI? And for us to do that, based on what we have been given, then it means then that we have to put in place structures, and those structures have to be supported. Then something else that I've learned is looking for AI in Swahili. I didn't know that. Actually, but yeah, I'm push. I think that is also another thing carrying on. And then he has gone to show how AI can be applied in various areas, in academic affairs, teaching, assessment, research and development, student support system, and administration. And I think he has done it in a very good way, so that we can be able to see that in all those areas, we can be able to use AI to enhance our efficiency and effectiveness. Something else that I've really picked from Prof, and which I think every one of you has it, is the issue of having that dashboard, the quality assurance dashboard powered by AI. And I think that is something that we should be able to take up, so that when you go back to institution, you can be able now to get an overview of a certain aspect of the institution on the click of a button. If you want to know about the quality assurance, you've got the quality assurance dashboard. If you want to know about management, you've got that management dashboard. And all of that is informed by, contributed by AI. So I think Prof representation is a eye opener. I'm sure the various quality assurance practitioners were here. When we go back to their institution, I think they have got a message to take back home. Okay, then. So then we can appreciate Professor Goff, and we can appreciate him by giving him flowers. And then we go to him, and he has received precious things. Okay, good. Yeah, so like I said, we teach our program because of what I communicated to in the morning. And I will beg your indulgence that we have just taken our very heavy, I don't know what the breakfast I will need. I don't know go to quality, but we have just taken our health break, and I believe we are still energetic. So, but before we go for our lunch, we can have one brief session. Like I said, we want supposed to have the round table, and in the round table, one of the key resource person in the round table is Professor Caroline Pomanga of the BBC Academic Affairs, Open University of Kenya, who wants to discuss issues surrounding quality assurance in open learning and micro credentials. But now that we are not able to have the round table today, and she has communicated that she will not be with us tomorrow, then we feel that it's only fair and that we give her maybe about 20 or so minutes so that she would come here and share what she would have shared in the round table. So, Professor, you're welcome.
Yes, so thank you so much for the opportunity. And I'm happy this comes after my friend has spoken, because what he has spoken about basically throws us into like the deep end of technology and what technology can do for us. And I would just like probably to pick up from where I left in the morning in terms of saying that thinking about working in the online space, basically we are talking about digital technologies and how we appropriate them to ensure that we are able to facilitate learning. And while facilitating learning, there are all these things that surround that learning environment that we definitely would want to think about in terms of what I have been asked just to highlight to us, just to get our minds thinking, because we are here to learn from one another, pick from each other's minds, because I've also picked quite a bit from what he has said. See probably where we are doing well, see where we actually could probably say, let us use AI in this manner, or say this is probably our boundary, and that kind of thing. I have been asked to talk about quality assurance in open learning and micro-credentials. And when we think about micro-credentials, I don't know, maybe I should ask very quickly, how many of us have just heard about micro-credentials? Just heard. Heard? Yeah. Okay. So, read about them? Read about micro-credentials? Not so many of us, but it is something now that is coming through very strongly, very, very strongly. And one major reason why this is coming on very strongly is, one, because of the digital technologies and what they can do for us, particularly in the learning space. But besides that, we are now moving into a workspace where the workforce and the industry does not want somebody who has all this knowledge of first year, second year, third year, up to fourth year. Even if it is master's, not somebody who has all this knowledge that you learned and you say you're now specializing at master's level for this one full year, especially with a degree that is not by research, and PhD the same. We now have a workspace where Prof. Caroline goes in for an interview and she wants a certain job, and somebody suddenly forgets that I'm a professor, okay? And they ask me very specific little things that they feel I should be knowing. Very specific little things. For example, having found ourselves at the Open University of Kenya, we all had to change our mindset about how we think, how content that should be exposed to the learner looks like. In our normal context, I will be given a curriculum, and within that curriculum, I'll pick out some bit of writing that will call a course outline, isn't it? And with that bit of what I'm calling a course outline, pick what I'm calling the topics. And with one, I pick the first one, I write some notes here and there, I go to class, I talk, and maybe after the class, tell the students, I have this pamphlet of notes, isn't it? And you give them. Probably now, because of technology, we say you might want to say and send on the WhatsApp group. In the past, we knew how we did it, isn't it? We had to go and photocopy, and it would be placed somewhere in a photocopier. Who remembers that? What about group yangu? Senior, what about group yangu? And you know, Malibu, there is a photocopier room A, room B, and the methodology room B. Therefore, the notes are there. And that's how we survived. We had all these photocopied notes plus the little notes you're able to scribble during a lecture, isn't it? And it worked. We can't say we didn't learn. But now we are in an age where things are different. And because of the online space, all this is also changing because no one wants me to know all those things to be able to know what to do. And because of that, we have the whole concept of micro-credentials coming on board. But we may want to ask ourselves, even as we think about quality in the online space, what are some of those indicators that I would pay attention to if I wanted to ensure quality within an online space? Just before I delve into the micro-credentials in a short while, I won't take too long. Thank God I'm a teacher, and already the way my students are looking at me, I'm even wanting to be talking. But anyway, I was given some little time. So I'll talk, but find a way of going around it a little fast. Indicators of quality within the online space, and again, drawing from the experience we have. All right? One, as we think about all these, we are thinking about the general academic quality. All right? Within the general academic quality, what we'll be paying attention to is the curriculum, the learning outcomes, the nature of the content, the teaching approaches, because even for us now at the Open University of Kenya, we have moved away from the word teaching, we've moved away from the word lecturing, we now call ourselves facilitators. Because I can't do so much teaching in an online space, but I can only support this learner through the online space, what we call facilitation. And so it means I must change the way I think about studying a class, the way I'm studying here, and saying so many things. These are students who are wherever. They could even be in a matatu, isn't it? They could even be in a garden. The other day we were doing our orientation session for our first year students who came in the May session. And one student, after we done so much, we said to them, does anyone of you have something to say? And one pops up and says, yes, I want to say something. They say, they even put their video on. And they say, I am now currently harvesting my honey. And they were in the farm, but they were following. And they have so many things to say about what we had talked about because of what technology can do. Given that that is where we are thinking about all those. So you're asking yourself, how will I handle such a person? So the aspect of academic quality into the teaching approaches, or if you want to call it facilitation approaches, into the assessment. What modes of assessment do you use? All right. Like for example, at the University of Kenya, much of what we are doing right now, and we are trying to do because we also still have to capacity build ourselves, and capacity building is also at the center of all this, is authentic assessment. Because we are telling ourselves we must be as practical as possible because also what the market space wants. The second thing that we also paying attention to, even as we think about quality of what we are doing for our learners, because we are there because of our learners, is the aspect of instructional design and quality. So instructional design, basically, is going to describe generally how you package your entire learning material before it is uploaded on the learning management system. Again, a whole process. If we were to talk about that, I can see one or two people in the hall who we have had opportunities to sit and talk about these processes. You know how long we took, isn't it? We were talking and talking endlessly, and the questions are still there. Then we have the third thing that we also must pay attention to when we are thinking about quality in the online space or online learning. We are thinking about learner support. But for us, when we come to learner support is even more important than Prof. Caroline going through a Zoom class and talking to students endlessly and calling it a class. I'd rather be available even for 2 hours and I'm only offering support to each one of them based on their different needs, and they'll be happy. Then me coming there in a Zoom class and talking the way I'm talking and it comes to an end. They are likely to be happy. And support comes in all fashions. When we read about learner support services in the online space, they are a whole range, from the technical to the academic to the psychological to the social. There are all these forms of learner support that must be provided. The fourth thing that I would quickly think about is faculty preparedness, and that is why I'm talking about capacity building. For us, we do capacity building every other week. When we discover this is something we need to all to know, one of us knows, or we don't know, we then look for somebody else who can come on board and talk with us. Then the issue of technology itself, the aspect of just the technology itself is something we must think about, even as we think about quality. How accessible are those platforms? Are they user-friendly? All right? Are they secure? There's so much that comes around it as we think about the issues of quality and ensuring that our learners are able to have the best possible experience. And that even moves us into thinking even about the kind of devices that the learners have. Of course, right now, with technology, we are now having, with technology advancing, we now even have elements of where online learners are able to access material offline. You see, that's just one form of technology, so that I don't have to be online to learn. I can still learn online, but offline. All right? So that is also coming up. And those are now the technologies now we ask ourselves, how do we get all this on board so that every learner has the opportunity to learn even in that space? Then the last one here that I want to mention for now is evidence-based improvement, which basically is at the center of what we are doing, because quality assurance is all about continuous improvement. So within and among all these things I've mentioned, and probably much more, what is it that we want to think about as we think about continuous improvement? So having talked about that, I want to quickly again talk about the micro-credentials. Micro, small, isn't it? Credential, something you earn in form of practice certificate or some form of qualification. So it's not like that huge one. It's a small qualification. What are these small qualifications? And again, when we talk about micro-credentials, one challenge that we have in terms of defining it, people again define it very different. There are those who say it is this, there are those who say that. But I think I'm using the simplest way I want to think about it very quickly. Micro, small, credential, and qualification, a small qualification. So what are these small qualifications? It is us who must determine them depending on the credentials and maybe the credit hours. But again, it is important that we also get to appreciate that even for micro credentials, we have those that are credit micro credentials and we have the non-credit micro credentials. So if they are credit, it means I will come to your university, I'll come to your college, I'll go to this platform, I will take or go through that learning, and the learning I have done can be quantified into something. But if it is non-credential, it means I will learn, but it will only be quantified as knowledge I have, but not as a certain amount of credit that adds up to what I have. So then, I want us to concentrate a little more on the credit ones, okay, those that can earn me a credit. For those that can earn a credit, when we think about how these are organized, it means I can take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 micro credentials, and when they are put together, they may not necessarily even add up to a full certificate, but they can say Caroline has this set of knowledge. Okay? So since that is the situation, how then do we begin thinking even about this within the general learning that we offer every day to our learning institutions? Remember, I said we now live in a world where people are not just in for those very long degrees. Not that degrees don't mean anything. I'm sure each one of us here values those degrees because they are the ones that have made us, isn't it? And without them, we probably would be something else. However, what the world isn't saying, even within that, what is it that you specifically know about this? And so, what is happening as you think about issues of micro-credentials? People are beginning to redesign their curriculum in a manner that those courses we offer and probably how we define the written or bits of knowledge within our curricula, we can begin creating credentials within it. So that Caroline, who doesn't want to do her degree right now and complete it, but has gotten some engagement somewhere, can come to the Open University of Kenya and say, when I have gone to look for a job, whereas I have so much that I know, they want me to know this bit. Is it possible you can allow me into your systems, into your classrooms, and I pick what I think I need? It's like shopping in a supermarket. You go with your basket and you pick. That is where the whole concept of micro-credentials is taking us. So that we are not putting our learners under that kind of pressure that they must do all this. But you see, what then makes that easy and facilitates all that is the fact that technology can do this for us. And somebody can learn in an online space, do what they are doing, but come and do the picking within it. And because these are credit awarding micro-credentials, we will ensure that we keep Caroline's credentials somewhere. She may come back 2 years later and say, I was here with you and I did 1, 2, 3, 4. It amounted to this. I now want to add this other one. When I add, what do I get? But if what they want to add may not necessarily give them a full credential in terms of say, a certificate or a diploma, we may also advance and say, if you did this, and this, without taking the entire program, plus what you have, we can award you a certificate in X. Okay? So that is the whole concept of micro-credentials in trying to see how then do we make learning as flexible as possible. But the catch is in now the quality element now that we are here. How do we ensure that we are able to maintain quality even within those circumstances? Okay? So some of the principles that I want to think about very quickly that we want to think about when we think about quality assurance in micro-credentials is the institution that is issuing them, for them to be assured in terms of quality, must be an authorized provider. That is number one. So that it's not Tom, Dick, and Harry somewhere doing stuff and is issuing this. Then, what is the purpose of that micro-credential? You must know what the purpose of that micro-credential is and who are your target learners. What are we saying target learners? Remember, we have said these are learners who will come in and pick the way we pick from a supermarket, isn't it? You go to the shelves and to pick whatever it is. Who are your target learners? So it means you can even come up with a micro-credential and you know there's a group of learners who need just this set of knowledge. And if we package it in that manner, it will be useful to them because they don't want to come and do everything. Then the other thing is we must define very clearly what our outcomes are and they must be measurable learning outcomes. That is something we know. The other most important is the volume, the amount of content. What would you consider is the appropriate amount of content in a microcredential? Besides that, the other thing we may also want to pay attention to is the duration. Remember, we are saying there are these short learnings we do, isn't it? How long should it be? It means that even within our own institution, we must determine that. So that, again, it is one that can be recognized in the market by whoever you are preparing this particular learner for to use their skills. Then the other thing we may also want to pay attention to and we think about quality is the mode of delivery. How do we want to deliver it? And since you have your target learners, you know what the learning outcomes are. How do you think you want to deliver this? Do you want it to be on-site? Do you want it to be blended? Do you want it to be fully online? And the duration also can determine. So all these factors play together in that context. Then we also maybe are thinking about the level and complexity of the learning. Complexity of that material. Remember we said amount, but now it is complexity. Who are you designing this course for? What should be the level of complexity? Complexity, because we have content that can be consumed by, it's the same content that can be consumed by different groups of learners. The younger learners, maybe the older learners, or it could even be the same age, but depending on maybe what they do, you redesign it and package it to allow them to appreciate that. Then besides that, what are the assessment methods or modes you want to use? Depending on what this learner is, we know what exams do to all of us, isn't it? In fact, for me, every time I do anything that I get exam at the end, you now begin fearing, and you fear from the bottom, not from the top, isn't it? Because you realize, okay, this is what I'm going to go to, fine. Then you get the assessment. And for you to graduate, you must get at least 70%. Then now you die, isn't it? Because you're like, people, I just want a certificate. I don't want to go and do exams. So how do we want to assess? Are they either learners? What would be the most appropriate assessment methods, say, for an adult learner? What would be the most appropriate assessment methods for a younger learner? And so on. And maybe level of education. You know, those things come in. Because remember, we're talking about micro-credentials. Micro-credentials could even be, for example, you want to do a targeting, say, the picky riders, isn't it? That could be a target group. What is your thinking and understanding and imagination of their level of understanding in terms of knowledge, ability to even keep concentrating without thinking that this 30 minutes I'm spending here will have made a number of rounds, isn't it? And make a few shillings. How do I assess them? How should the content be packaged? And so on. And what would be the criteria? Then verification methods to know that I have learned, and now I can get the credential. Then evidence of competence, which would also be done through assessment. How do you want to determine that I have attained that competence? Because I may not necessarily be given a written exam. Okay. Then the issue of the credit value, I talked about that at the beginning. How many do we want it to be a credit, awarding, micro-credential, or non-credit? If it is non-credit, that would be easier to work with, because then you take me through the learning and you give me a certificate and I can prove somewhere I went to school. But if they are credits, to what do they add to what I already have in terms of even growth? What do they add to what I have that maybe if I did that and I come next time and add something else and say she's now going to the next level and so on. Then as I go through closer to the end is ensuring that even this is embedded within our quality assurance processes within the university. And that then would imply we probably want to begin from a quality assurance not quality assurance, but micro-credential policy. My friend here talked about an AI policy, isn't it? Do we have artificial intelligence policies? We may want to have a policy on micro-credentials, because then from there, it will begin giving you ideas on how you can begin implementing or operationalizing this based on your circumstances and context. And as we do this, probably another thing that will help us be able to ensure quality is engaging industry. Like, for example, I said motorbike riders. You may want to engage with that group of people to know what exactly do they feel they lack that they want to learn as a group. So you may want to engage employers, professional bodies, industry players, and so on, of the people you probably want to do this with. But most importantly, as we draw close to the end, micro-credentials now, apart from those that we may want to look at those little learnings that we just want to get and go, we now have what we call stackability. I can stack my credentials and eventually get to the top of what I want. So what mode do you want to use? And how do we want to ensure that this is offered within the boundaries of what we consider of quality? So stackability and recognition. And right now we have KNQA that is working very well. If you coordinated with KNQA, they will support you in that process. Currently, also through KNQA, we have a national framework on micro-credentials that is being developed. And very soon we'll have it out there. Something that we now begin to think about, look forward to, so that we begin getting a variation, diversity, and having a very dynamic institution that is able to meet the needs of each and every one of us within the society, rather than looking at those who just want to take the longer degrees or a whole diploma. People now want those shorter learnings. Even you and I need those shorter learnings. The amount of learning I've had to do and the micro-credentials I've had to do since I went to the Open University of Kenya, I realized, oh, so I knew and I know, but I also don't know. And so you have to keep learning. But you ask yourself, what is it I'm doing? How will it plug in into who I already am? So that you grow into that person that is going to be a person that can offer the quality through what you have made yourself to be. And that is the power that we have in micro-credentials. Because of time, I don't have much I have quite a bit to say, but I think I want just to probably say stop somewhere here, but say in closing, open learning promotes access. That is one thing we must align ourselves to, because I know this is now something we are all basically doing in our universities and in our workspaces. Quality assurance ensures that access leads to meaningful learning. We just don't want to open learning, make it accessible, but it is not meaningful learning. We want meaningful learning. Hence, quality must come within. Micro-credentials promote flexibility. Quality assurance ensures that flexibility results in trusted and demonstrable competencies. So it's not just being flexible, but how do we quality assure within that flexibility? Our responsibility is not to replicate conventional education where all of us have been grown. That is where we all are. It's not to replicate that conventional education on a digital platform, because sometimes that is what we end up doing. You pick what you're already doing and you do certain things on the LMS, and then you say, now we are digital. It's not that. We must get to a point where we are telling ourselves, it is to design a credible, inclusive, and future responsive higher education ecosystem. And when I say that, already quality comes in, isn't it? Because we can't be responsive to an ecosystem that we want to say, if anyone wants quality higher education, Kenya is the place to be. we must pay attention to that. The other thing as I close is Kenya has an opportunity now. We are talking about ourselves here as we spread our wings. Kenya has an opportunity to develop a coordinated national framework that supports innovation without compromising academic standards, enables mobility without creating confusion. So when we talk about mobility, it means the micro-credential I earned in Kenya from University X, it should be able to be recognized elsewhere in University Y. You see, that is now where quality comes in, the issue of benchmarking and ensuring we are doing the right thing. So it's not just that, but we must work within the space of saying we don't want to compromise academic standards. We should enable mobility without creating confusion and expand opportunity while protecting the space of our learners. Because we don't want our learners to go out there. They have a certificate and it is not recognized. We want it to be recognized and quality sits right there. Ultimately, quality in open learning and micro-credentials must be judged by a fundamental question. And the question is, can learners, employers, institutions, regulators, and society trust that the holder of that credential has genuinely achieved the knowledge, the skills, and the competencies? And remember, probably we saying that at the beginning, why we say that micro-credential is that small credential, it must be a small credential that has very specific skills and competencies that somebody can point at in and within the content. What I can do after the learner, not what I know, what I can do. That is at the center of it all, hence that. So if we are able to answer that question well and comprehensively, then as a team, we will be moving towards creating an ecosystem of working within the space of micro-credentials to provide the needed knowledge, skills, and competencies that will grow our digital economy. I think that is where I want to stop, but I'm very sure as we continue engaging, even if it's not in this forum, we can get to learn more from each other. Thank you so much, and I can get this back.
Thank you both for that. It was quite concise and very applicable to all of us. She has made two presentations in one. One presentation focusing on aspects of quality assurance in open learning systems. And I think that is applicable to all of us because even for those of us from conventional universities, we are also dabbling into open learning. I know in my university, we have the digital school for virtual and open learning. And I'm sure every other university has got an online learning platform. And so what she has shared with us is applicable in those other contexts. Because I think at the moment, we are doing blended learning, I think, in all our programs. I know even our undergraduate degree programs, for example, in Kenyatta University, we are not doing 100% phase 2 fees. We are employing the blended mode whereby we take them face to face, but we also engage them online. And we have some challenges, like she has observed. When it's online, most of us will go to Zoom or Google Meet, and you talk there for 1 hour. You call that quality and which is not. So I think we can be able to see how to put it into practice in our institution. When it comes to micro-credentials, I think this is a discussion that is coming at the right time, and I think it's important that as universities we start engaging with this because like you have to. This is what the market demands. And as an educational institution, we are there to serve the market. If the market is requiring graduates with micro credentials in this and that area, then I think it is important that we are able to respond to that demand. I know for long, universities, our academic programs have been very rigid. You enroll for a 4-year program, and it's not until you finish your final exam and pass that is when you are certified that you are competent. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge that that is being posed to us. And I think from what Prof has given, I think it has given us an idea. What we mean when we're talking about micro credentials? What is it that we're talking about, and how should we go about it? And I think Prof, when the Catholic is happening, especially in the Tibet sector, I think they have somehow embraced that. Because I remember in the national polytechnics and their institutions, in the past they used to have a 3-year diploma program. And it was like a degree program whereby when you start, you cannot be satisfied when you pass the last exam at the end of the year. But with the reforms that have taken place in the Tibet sector, they have introduced what they call the modular program. So that when you complete the first year, that is modular 1, you get certified for that. And that certification can enable you to go to the market. It's even recognized by the market out there. There are some things that you can be able to do. It shows that you've got competencies to do this and that. And then you can go back to college, you do modular 2, and then you get around. And then at the end of it all, when you finish the 3 modulars, that's when now you get the certificate. And I think that is the stackability that you're talking about. So I think for us at the university level, this is a conversation that we will need to have, so that when we look at our degree programs, what is it that we need to do so that maybe we can be able to empower our students? And I think the Commission for University Education should also help the universities in terms of the policy guidelines, So because of time, we are going to stop there, but because Professor will not be with us tomorrow, I think it is only fair that I give a chance to any of you who have questions so that she can respond, because she will not be with us tomorrow. So is there anyone with a burning question directed to Prof on either the issue of quality assurance in open learning system or the issue of medical credentials? Anyone with a question? Anyone with a question? The floor is yours. Okay, yeah, there's one there, but there. We have another mic. Here.
Thank you. My question would be on the quality of assessment, the online assessment, and especially in the area of invigilation. How then do we ensure that maybe the professor can shed some light on how they monitor the online assessment to ensure that it's quality?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Christine, for that. Anyone else with a question? Anyone else with a question? Okay, Prof, there's a question on assessment. And I think you did mention that about authentic assessment. And I think as you respond, maybe you may shed some light on how authentic assessment is. I know when we are moving to the competence-based education framework, the issue of assessment, we normally say is the elephant in the room. That is something that we're grappling with. As we move to the CBET framework, how do we ensure that we are able to give authentic assessment? That has been the elephant in the room in the institutions where we are trying to migrate to CBET. So, Prof, you could respond to that.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that question. As we think about issues of online assessment and maintaining quality, within that space. Number one, I would want to talk about
the digital technologies that we employ. That is the first thing. Because as a human in that space, you have probably very control if any. So it is the nature and types of technologies that you will deploy to support that particular process and to ensure you are able to go through. So in this case, we'll be thinking about proctoring, the kind of proctoring tools that would be deployed. And we have different types of proctoring tools that are available that support that whole assessment and invigilation of an online examination. So that is what I want to talk about when you think about just what would you do? It is the tools that will support because you have very little control. For example, it is the same kind of tools that, for example, would tell me this is Caroline, that is my lecturer, and is able to identify me. But again, is able to tell what is it that else I'm doing in the space where I am. That seems to imply, just the way we vigilate in a normal situation. There are times to stand in one corner and then you're behaving like you're looking the other side, but you're looking this side. Then you see the other student who's doing whatever it is, isn't it? And you slowly walk there, moving back and repeat notice that you saw, and you get to see what they were doing. Equally, it's the same thing in an online space. So the tools will help you. But now, because you can't be there to stop whoever is doing whatever you suspect is out of order, it is the system in the manner which is designed will cut you off from the exam. So that is an example of a proctoring kind of tool that is used. So there are different types of proctoring tools, and the more sophisticated it is, probably the more costly it's going to be, but very effective, and these are used in so many places around the world. And as technology grows and diversifies, these are coming on the market and they are being deployed by people within their systems. That is what I was saying. However, like we say, we're human beings, the students of ours are human beings. And now with AI, I was talking to a friend who is in one of the universities in the UK. And I was looking at some of the assessment he had prepared. And asked him, but why do you have this kind of assessment? Why are you even telling the student with the aid of the personal assistant? It is the question. With the aid of AI, do ABCD. But after that, what was now the right line, then provide your personal critique of what AI moves here. You see now, AI may still give you the critique, but also as the teacher, the assessor, or the facilitator, you know what the abilities are up to a certain level, isn't it? And if it is an item that is also being submitted online, you can also do the test within an AI to test the levels of how much was used in terms of AI or employed. So he told me that in the long run has gotten their students to begin thinking more critically. Because they know we will be given the permission that we have all these AI tools to use, and that is it. But also what people are doing is also engaging a lot open book exams. All right, apart from the open book exams, we want to go into what we are calling authentic assessment, because open book, I must have the proof of the book I used, how I used it, where I got the quote, and it's a specific set of books that you are given and you do that. But with authentic assessment, because now that is another way of now having the use of the many other AI tools that may be there, is a situation where you only build or create or design practical oriented questions. The kind of questions that what probably our brother here did tell us is when you're saying AI can sometimes can become sick. We can also say sometimes it will solve, and a lot of times it hallucinates. And you can always tell a response that was produced by an hallucinating AI, or an AI that was at that moment sick and it needed probably even as it would. So we have all those kind of situations. So it is now a situation of you asking yourself, what kind of questions are you setting? Are they the kind of questions that will send your learners quickly to think they should draw an answer from somewhere? Or a question when they read, the first thing they think about is to think. That is what authentic assessment is all about. Like doing cases, like a case study is an example of that. Creating contextual kind of questions that would get the learner thinking rather than doing that. And depending on the level of learners and who they are and what they're doing, like for us, we assume since our learners are there, if it is a practical question, depending on the course I'm teaching, I pick real contextual situations because they are there and they should be interacting with that kind of situation wherever they are. So you pick those real situations, and that is one way or some of the ways we're just thinking about how to have that kind of situation. But like we always say, just like in a normal exam situation, how much are we able to have? When we are all my students and at least one you're teaching different. How much are you able to do? How much? And that is where we don't want to stop by saying we are doing as much as we can, even as we think about online learning in terms of supervision and maintaining quality, just like it would be even in a non-examination situation. Because these students now, they are very clever, very, very clever. And they can do all manner of things to get to pass the exams. We were told now we have more students graduating, isn't it? It begins from the exam to the thesis. Yeah, but it's now us to change our mindset and change the way we look at an exam. There are even now those who think about doing more of the format. Get the students to do more formatting. And when you come to summative, you want to do very little just to get to let Carol know that he's a student, to just feel he's a student and she did an exam. But the formative, and what kind of tasks do you give during the formative sessions and so on? So those balances have to be created within this whole space because it's a very dynamic and complex space to operate in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof, for that response. Like you observe, now that the universities, we are migrating to the CPET framework, then it is important that we really grasp that issue of assessment, especially the authentic assessment. So I think because of time, we are going to stop there so that we can have our lunch break. And I would like us to appreciate our Prof for precise presentation. Can also give us some flowers. Deliver. Yeah, so both we really appreciate your time. Yeah, we really appreciate that you've kept your busy, officers are busy. To come, before it's going on, but to come and be here with us so that you can be able to share. We have learned from you, and I'm sure we will continue interacting with you so that you can be able to learn more. Yeah, so at this point, I think I'm going to invite our host, Dr. Christine, so that she can give us guidance about lunch. And it's 10 minutes past 2. And I don't know, maybe we can agree on how many minutes do we take for lunch? Would 45 minutes be okay? 45 minutes be okay? So that we are able to come here and we still have some other session. Will that be okay? Okay then. So Christine, you can guide us on the report.
Thank you very much. Our lunch will start on the first floor. There's just, when you go down to the stairs, there's the first door there, written staff lunch. That is where our lunch will start. Everybody will start from there. But I know the sitting space there will not be enough for everybody. So our staff, our internal staff, you will serve and then you will sit at the cafeteria. So the other guests will serve and sit at the staff lunch, while our staff you serve can sit at the cafeteria. And I was welcome for lunch. I know if I say you don't pray for lunch, some people will think the lunch is not blessed. We pray. We pray for lunch, so that the lunch is blessed. I request our director, research to say a prayer, because she's sitting near the door, so that then she can direct us as we go. So, and one more quite forgetting. There are people requested that they need the full group photo today, because they are saying there's only one suit. And it is to be worn. So before we take our evening tea today, we will do the group photo for everybody at the entrance. So. I see it's pointing.
Are you sure you're not the one?
There's a great one, the body suit that was worn today, let us go for our prayer. Almighty and everlasting Father, we thank you this afternoon for the good things you've done for us to this far. We pray that for the people that are before us, bless it, and for those who do not have, in your own special way, provide that to them. It is in Jesus' name that we pray.
Thank you for talking also.
I was thinking that the Minister of Education.
There's a lady she's the one I know. It's a pleasure. In fact, he has already appreciated that, so we converse about. We converse about, so we probably either we also talk about it because we normally consider ourselves like, since we are still online, we are the people who are experiencing this person, and we are the ones who can even inform this and university. As we converse, given that this is the practical situation.
You have time to contribute to it.
Yes.
As we were reviewing the standards, because it would have been good if we get your perspective in the review of the standards.
Communicate to me, which I
No,
don't know if our registrar.
Now that you are the queue and she is only,
Yeah.
does that kind of a program get accredited?
Stackability, which one?
The micro-credential. If you are to offer,
Yeah.
does it get accreditation?
The biggest challenge is
No,
it's that
We made some.
uh,
It was at Moi.
or because of the levels.
so assuming that we take one place and
because,
another place.
Because the second question was to ask if two universities can collaborate
Exactly.
and offer also.
You know, these are kind of specifics.
Oh.
Now you're another system.
No, the issue of them getting.
Just put double up.
We just get a special line.
Remember me from another one, but at least there's another person.
Yeah, which are going to make some.
Yes. Which year? No, and then
Just a technician, but
PhD. Yes.
that's why we met.
That's the time. So we must have done some minutes together. Are you starting from hospice?
Hey.
Yes, that's what we can do. That's what the
I'm supposed to present because we shared with Dr. Michelle. We have some of